Chapter 5. Strengthening physical fitness, arms dealer comes to the door. Early the next morning, Chu Zihong had just finished running 5 kilometers on the treadmill, and suddenly felt soreness all over his body. Although after a week of high-intensity specialized training, his physical quality had improved greatly. But the limit kilometer was 4 kilometers. Today Chu Zihong sent a hard breakthrough to his limit. The limit of 5 kilometers running was successfully broken. During this period, Chu Zihong felt that his legs were no longer his own, very light and fast. Even when it came to the back of the kilometer pace, it was instead faster than the front. His own mood was also very pleasant. At that moment, his mind only wanted to run. Science has proved that as long as human beings run beyond their own limits, they will not feel tired. Because that is called the human body pole, the movement will be very easy after exceeding the pole, and the level of movement will increase after exceeding the pole, usually called the second breath. In sports physiology and sports anatomy, is called overload training. Breaking through the current stage to reach the limits of the human body, the next Chu Zihong will have to increase their efforts. Want to become the strongest military contractor without a strong body? How can it convince the public? And also often traveled to dangerous areas, without a little self-protection ability cannot be. Instead of putting their lives into the hands of others, it is better to be in their own hands. After all, in this world that practiced the law of the dark forest, even loved ones may betray you for the sake of profit. In front of 100% profit, no one can resist the temptation. The only thing that was king was self-preservation. Wiping a handful of sweat, Chu Zihong was about to continue training the next subject. Just then Victor walked in. "Boss, the black market arms dealer Vito Don Corleone, that you made an appointment with last night, has already arrived at the first floor parlor." Chu Zihong sniffed and raised his hand to look at his watch. It was only 7:30 in the morning. This guy came quite early. "You go entertain first. I'll change my clothes and come over." "Okay, boss," Victor answered and turned to leave. Chu Zihong, on the other hand, hurriedly walked towards the bathroom and hurriedly rinsed and changed his clothes. This was his gold master father. Completing the system mission could be counted on him. Inside the parlor, on the European-style sofa, there were 2 people sitting. One of them was none other than last night's black market arms dealer, Vito Don Corleone, and only the other was his bodyguard, Michael. A large black man, close to 2 meters in height, muscular body, black suit where its arch bulging, as if the next second is very likely to be in pieces. At a glance, it was not to be messed with. That pair of fists, definitely harder than a sandbag. If one were to receive a punch, it was estimated that one could directly spiral into the sky. Corleone on the sofa was crossing his legs and taking a sip of coffee in a relaxed manner. However, his mind was starting to think about Chu Zihong and its Hualong Security Company. This time, selling weapons was nothing more than paying off debts. To say that Hualong Security was also quite impressive, the key was that it was still run by a Chinese descendant, and it was not a bad mix with a good reputation. In Sam, a country with a strong colorism, that is quite not easy. A year ago, the Hualong Security Company was in full swing, and its branch opened in the next city, surpassing the trend of Blackfire Security Company, the old local security leader in Tiago City. Unfortunately, its helmsman Chuyang was due to investment failure, coupled with the financial crisis, resulting in a break in the capital chain of Hualong Security Company. A 10,000-foot-high building that was about to rise up from the ground fell apart in an instant. In addition, also owed the KKK 5 million loan sharks. Under such a double blow, Chuyang, the helmsman of Hualong, died of a sudden heart attack, leaving a mess to his son. Everyone knew that the Chu family's son was a loser rich second generation, always hanging out in entertainment venues. Although he was sent to California to attend university, he was still an unsupportable bucket. In the face of the rival Blackfire Security Company's robbery, there was no way to fight. The foundation was almost pried away by it. Today's Hualong Security Company can be said to be close to the end of the year waiting for the bankruptcy settlement. But just at this juncture, this Chu family heir is suddenly changed the name of the company, called what Umbrella Company. Umbrella? This is to start over? But Corleone is not too optimistic, the Chu family on all sides, facing too many enemies. I heard that 2 days ago this guy also offended the KKK in Tiago City, the head of Hugh Fletcher. The 2 sides engaged in the sword tensions on the verge of a firefight. This is completely looking for death behavior. Now think about the sale of weapons. I guess 8 or 9 is not bad with this matter, has something to do. So he decided to wait a good pressure on the price. This kind of loser can pit a little is a little. Anyway, there will be no interactions in the future. Maybe after this time the 2 are no longer in the same world. After all, offending the KKK was tantamount to looking for death. Now it is not dead. It is only a matter of sooner or later. So, what kind of money do dead people use? Thoughts drifted between. A sound of footsteps came from outside the parlor, pulling Corleone back from his thoughts. Only to see Chu Zihong wearing a decent navy blue Versace suit appeared in the doorway of the parlor, at first glance giving a very hard feeling. Looking at it was like a certain male star in a movie such as Zun Long. Last night, the black market lighting problem did not specifically see the appearance. This time, when Corleone saw Chu Zihong's real face, his eyes flashed with a flash of amazement. This was that loser rich second generation? It didn't seem to look like it. That smirk-like smile gave off an extremely powerful confidence. It seemed that the rumors were not necessarily true. Corleone retrieved the thoughts in his mind and immediately got up to greet him with a big smile. The two sides naturally exchanged a set of vain pleasantries. "Mr. Chu, let's get to the point. Where are the weapons? Can you take me to take a look now?" Corleone took the initiative and said, "The weapons are in the basement, Mr. Corleone. Please follow me." Chu Zihong smiled and stretched out his hand to politely make an invitation gesture. "Mr. Chu, you are too polite." Corleone waved his hand, speaking politely on the surface. Soon, Chu Zihong brought Corleone and his bodyguard Michael to the basement. Following closely behind were Victor and the others. As personal bodyguards, they naturally guarded Chu Zihong's side 24 hours a day. Corleone swept a glance at Victor and the others, and a glint flashed in his eyes. Having been involved in the arms industry for many years, he had seen countless mercenaries. However, he saw a different aura on the several personal bodyguards beside Chu Zihong. These people were definitely not ordinary mercenaries, and definitely belonged to that kind of top-tier mercenaries. This kind of feeling is like the Secret Service personnel around the president.
Unexpectedly.
This Chu Zihong has hidden dragons and crouching tigers around him, and the Chu family might actually have the possibility of rising from the dead at the hands of this kid. Retracting his gaze, Corleone looked towards the weapons rack located in the center of the basement. The weapons on it dazzled him. The weapons were indeed diverse enough, with pistols, automatic rifles, semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, and even military-style grenades. However, it was undeniable that the weapons on the weapon racks were all the world's top-ranking good guns. High-end weapons, generally expensive. However, there was still a large market in the West on the side of the gangsters and laundry detergents. For them, submachine guns were far better than pistols. Corleone quickly came to the weapon rack and let out a shocked sigh. "Oh by God, Mr. Chu, these weapons of yours are enough to go open a gun store." "Gun store? Forget it. There are more gun stores in Tiago than McDonald's." Chu Zihong laughed and shook his head, saying. Seeing this, Corleone laughed. "Ha, that's true." 10 minutes later, Corleone brought his bodyguard Michael to check all the weapons in the basement and found that they were all new. Some of the weapons hadn't even been disassembled yet. They were filled with gun oil and preserved just as they were when they came out of the factory. The ones that were disassembled were also perfectly maintained, and at a glance they knew that someone often maintained them. If all of them were sold, they would also be able to fetch a good price. Corleone was very satisfied. He turned his head and looked at Chu Zihong with a big smile and said, "Mr. Chu, I've seen all of these weapons very perfectly. They are all new. Not much of a problem. Since there's no problem, what do you think about the price?" Chu Zihong pointed to the weapons inside the arsenal and asked, "Mr. Chu, your weapons are rather miscellaneous. It's too troublesome to differentiate and sell them one by one." Corleone pondered for a moment, then said, "How about this? How about selling them according to the type of firearms?" "Oh, by type?" Chu Zihong looked at Corleone with odd eyes and asked. In reality, his heart was secretly sneering. This guy is trying to trap himself. Selling it by type, wouldn't he be at too much of a disadvantage? Think he's a fool? This TM is not wholesale. Taking advantage is also too blatant, right? Capitalists are all vampires. If it's not that he doesn't have a lot of money on him, plus he has to complete the task issued by the system. He did not bother to sell.